Howdy folks, Jamboree here, and welcome to another episode of The Church of Tim Curry, the show where we review movies starring Mr. Curry. So joining me is my co-host, Viva Becker.
Welcome.
And we're going to be talking about the fantasy adventure movie, The Secret of Moonacre. Maria Merryweather has recently become an orphan, and her dad left her a book called The Ancient Chronicles of Moonacre Valley, which details the story of a wedding between Sir Rolfe Merryweather and the Moon Princess of the Denoir family. The princess offered a valuable set of moon pearls to her newly married families, but the Denoirs and Merryweathers fought over the pearls, so she cursed both families. Maria and her governess are invited to live with Maria's estranged uncle, Sir Benjamin, but her uncle is a salty man who was heartbroken after learning that his fiancée Loveday was a Denoir. While living with her uncle, Maria discovers that the manor is magical and must try to end her family's curse, but the sinister Coeur de Noir, played by His Holiness Tim Curry, is hot on Maria's tail and sends his son Robin to find her. Maria also learns that she's destined to be the new Moon Princess. So Viva, your initial thoughts on this film?
Well, I think we summed it up pretty well. Generic drivel, basically. It felt like to me when I was watching it, the studio wanted a vehicle to show off dresses. And then to create the story around showing off all these dresses, they pretty much made a checklist of all the fantasy tropes they needed in there. And then that's how they made the story. Around the tropes, and then how many dresses can we put in?
The dresses are the most interesting thing about this film.
The dresses were very interesting to look at. It's just, there were so many dresses. Every scene needed a new dress. And some of them were magic dresses, and they could never look bad. Like there's a part where one of the grown-ups is saying, like, "Oh no, what did you do to your dress? It's so dirty." And she was wiping it off, and it was ridiculous because the dress looked great, and there was not a speck of dirt on the dress. and there's another part where another grown-up shows up. She has this peace offering. It's this dress. She's like, the original Moon Princess dress! And I think in the movie they say the Moon Princess lived over 300 years ago. And this dress looks amazing for being 300 years old. It is the most beautifully kept 300-year-old dress I've ever seen.
Yeah, this movie was pretty much a demo reel for the costume designer.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, I had a very neutral reaction to the film. I didn't hate it, but I also didn't like it, and I didn't love it. It's more tolerable than Garfield, but it's one of those fantasy films that I will not remember ever again.
Well, I could definitely imagine liking it if I was the target audience. Like, imagine you were a 12-year-old girl. You would probably love it, right? I mean,
yeah, I can totally see it working that way, but at the same time, it feels like they're pandering to that age group and to that audience, rather than thinking, okay, how can we make something timeless that will stay with them? They think, right, okay, what kinds of things do girls this age like? Throw all those things into the film, done. It also feels like it's all the 2000s fantasy adventure movies in one.
yes.
Like Spiderwick Chronicles, Harry Potter, Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events. It's all those films just piled into there. So I'm not surprised that not many people even remember this film, because it kind of gets lost in the mix of all those kinds of movies.
Yeah, there's some Narnia in there too. I mean, there's literally a part where magic resurrects a dead lion. I'm like, oh, gotta get that Narnia box checked off on the list.
Yeah, apparently the book doesn't have any fantasy elements. According to one review I read, it said that the more magical parts of the film were forced in, and you can tell they were shoehorned into the movie. Whenever they appear, it's like, oh, okay, that's there.
I'm really confused as to how they could tell the story, how this story could be based off something that didn't have magic in it, because the main plot element is this curse that's been there for hundreds of years.
I've no idea, as I've not read the book, but it's just something I read, and I can kind of tell but a lot of the more fantastical stuff that happens, and that extra length they go to make it whimsical does feel a tad forced.
How did you feel about the look of the movie? Because they, I think one of the main things they were focusing on was just how it looked. It was sort of like supposed to be kind of like a period piece, but none of the all the costumes sort of were just taking inspiration from period costuming. They weren't from any real time period, and they had some very interesting choices with them.
I felt as if a lot of the film looked and felt very dreary and mundane. And it did add to the sluggishness of the film because of that. But I think I was able to look at it, at least. I didn't feel repulsed. I was like, okay, right. The only times where I was a little distracted was whenever we saw those cheap TV movie standard effects in the film.
Well, I was very distracted at some points. They made a lot of unique decisions with the costumes, and I really respect a lot of the decisions, except there's this bad guy's son, and he's supposed to be very scary throughout the beginning of the movie, and he's supposed to be very mysterious, except for I can't take him seriously, because the first time he shows up is just randomly at this girl's father's funeral, and he's just standing in the leaves, and he's got this ridiculous scarf over his face, and not like a way that you're supposed to wear a scarf. It's just like this skinny little black ribbon thing, and it's like right over his nose, and he looked ridiculous.
Yeah, he looked like a member of an emo pop band. He really did.
Yeah.
Again, the film is pandering to that age group. They know what girls that age like, and they've gone, right, we'll have the mysterious anti-hero character look like that.
Well, him and
the
all
bad
of
boy's
his,
gonna look like that.
all of his friends.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and he was definitely, Robin was definitely supposed to be like the proto bad boy that you can change if you're really great and really nice, like the Moon Princess is. She, except for they don't write in any of the parts that you need for that. They just have, here's a bad boy, and here's a girl who's supposedly supposed to be really, really great and pure and stuff, and then they put them together for like 2 minutes, and then it just happens. There's no build-up, there's no, like, they don't do any work for it. They just have the elements, they put them together, and then they expect the result to happen without any of the work. It's very confusing. It's very annoying, and it's very weird because the main girl is 13, I think, or 12 or 13 in the movie, and the bad boy is, I mean, he's got to be like at least 20.
He looks like he's 20s.
Yeah, he's got to be at least 20.
Like
he sounds 20. He looks 20, and it's just awkward to watch their romance parts together because she's like 13. He's like 20.
Yeah, it was odd. It was a really odd, out of nowhere kind of like, oh, okay, we're going that route now, are we? Love story, okay. Right, okay.
Well, how about the love story between the two adults? I mean, that is just there were only a couple scenes in the movie that made me actually start gagging on the cheese from the scene. And the worst offender was the flashback scene between the salty uncle guy and then the weird forest lady who used to be his fiance. And it's just imagine the most cliched, ridiculous thing you've ever seen, like romance scene you've ever seen. I mean, it's the two of them, and then she's playing piano, and then he comes over, and then they start dancing together, and then they're like, oh, today is our wedding day. Aren't you so happy that we're getting married? And then she's like, I've got a dark secret. And then he's like, no. And he takes the flower pots and he throws them on the floor. And she runs out crying into the forest. And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
So melodramatic, the whole scene.
I never wanted them to get together. I was never rooting for either of those characters because they were just so useless and so silly and selfish and unreasonable the entire movie.
Yeah. It doesn't help that a lot of the adult acting is beyond hammy, like every adult. And I get that some kids would really like that, but the rest of the family that's watching would find it to be very annoying because the whimsy and comedy is so forced. And it makes it hard for some audiences to take the story seriously. Like you said, that scene could have been a very tragic and heartbreaking moment, but it's not because the actors are eating the set.
Oh, God.
Half the time I wasn't sure what scenes were supposed to be comedic or dramatic. It was that bad.
Like, there's, the part where the main girl, Maria, is, she's noticing all these magical elements about Moonacre. She's trying to pry the secrets out of her uncle, and he's not having it. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, he's full on weeping. He's got like tears running down his face, and I'm like, Jesus! I'm like, oh my God, guy, pull yourself together.
He was possibly the worst actor in the film. Every emotion was like, right, I better dial this up to 50.
Only 50? Only 50.
Time. Yeah. Okay, that's mildly putting it. But yeah, he was dreadful. Like, he was a bit too into it. But then again, I'd think that the governess, she's possibly worse because she's trying really hard to be funny, which is worse.
I don't even know why her character was there.
No.
She was the only thing that she did, or that it seemed like the writers were putting her there for, were so that she could make funny noises and burp.
Yeah, I forgot she just burped halfway through most of the movie. Yeah. That was her main trait, is just
I'm like,
burping.
oh my gosh, it's so funny.
It's supposed to be hilarious.
Oh, she burped again. That's really funny. Oh my gosh, this guy is proposing to her and she burps. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
But the worst crime this film does, in terms of acting, is underused Tim Curry.
He's not in this that much.
Yeah, I'm surprised they gave him a credit.
He has maybe 7 lines or something.
Yeah. To be fair, he does his best. He's his usual brilliant self, but it's like the filmmakers underestimated what he could do for his age and held him back a bit and thought, oh no, he might have a heart attack if we carry on, move on.
And I feel like they used probably the most boring takes that he did of all of his lines too.
Oh yeah.
How kind of you to join us, Moon Princess. Oh, what is this?
She has brought us the lost key, gentlemen. Because the terrible Denoirs have had the moon pearls hidden up here all the time.
They didn't... I mean, if they're gonna let all of the other adult actors be so hammy and crazy, why not just let Tim Curry off of his leash?
Definitely.
Just let him off of his leash, and they weren't doing it. They weren't doing it. And for some reason, Tim Curry's character has Spock eyebrows in this movie.
No. You know what's funnier? That stupid mask he wears that makes him look like a kinky Batman. It is the silliest thing ever. And like when he's wearing it, we're meant to be scared. And when he takes it off, we're meant to be like, oh, it's Tim Curry. Oh, it's the bad guy. No, it's not. It's BDSM Batman, okay?
To be honest, the two, the uncle and the forest lady, looked more evil to me than Tim Curry did.
Yeah. Yeah.
They had more evil expressions than Tim Curry did. When you could see his expression when he didn't have the mask on.
The thing is, you could tell that Tim really wanted to go at it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he was listening to the director saying like, no. So it's like no, this film's so boring. Can you please liven it up with some Tim Curry at full energy?
Yeah. The only thing that really got to shine through about in his performance for me was just that it sounds really funny when he says the word princess with his British accent.
Yes! It's great. There's also a really dumb bit where Tim Curry's character finds out that his son has betrayed him and is now joining forces with Maria, catches up to them both, and as they're not too far from him, and they start walking away, and it's like, I know where you live. They're right in front of you.
Go! I'll know where to find you again.
Back where it all began.
Just nab them there. He's like, I'm gonna get you later. Just do it now. Again, I think it's the filmmakers thinking, no, Tim, we don't want you to get exhausted from walking a few steps forward. Yeah,
they probably thought that little girl could do some damage to him if he went after him. I think that was my main gripe with the whole storyline of the film, though, was, you know, like, why don't you just do it now? I mean, the Moon Princess, at the end, all the Moon Princess had to do was take the pearls and throw them into the ocean off this magical cliff. And when she does the curse, she's literally standing at the edge of the exact cliff she needs to be on, holding the pearls, and being like, these pearls gotta be returned to the ocean somehow. I don't know how. You guys have 5,000 moons to return the pearls. And I'm like, damn it, lady, just jump off the cliff and return the pearls yourself right now.
Yeah.
I'm just, it's so stupid. It's just so stupid. Why don't you just do that then?
It is.
The Moon Princess, I think, basically means, the title means that you're stupid, because, the original Moon Princess is so stupid. She has these pearls. She's like, oh, hey guys, look at these pearls of extreme power and wealth that I have. I'm just gonna put them right here in front of everybody. Don't try and take them. And of course they try and take them. And then Maria, who's the final Moon Princess, she pretty much just stupids her way through most of the movie. And every time she has anything important, she immediately goes to the evil guys, and she gives it to them.
Yep.
She gets the key, and immediately she goes to the evil guy for it, and she's like, oh, Tim Curry, here's this key. And he's like, oh, thank you. And I'm like, why? Why? And as soon as she gets the pearls, she goes to the evil guy's son. She's like, look, pearls. And I'm like, why, though? It's just, she does like the math problem to figure out how many moons are left, which I guess is very, very smart, but everything else is just, she just stupids her way through everything.
Yeah.
She never actually does anything that helps anything. It's just things happen to her while she's doing these stupid things, and she ends up saving the day. Not because she did anything.
Yeah. What do you think of because we've spoken about the acting from the adults. What do you think of the younger actors?
Does Robin count as a younger actor? Because he's 20, but also he's supposed to be attracted to Maria, so I'm very confused about that.
I don't know. We'll count him anyway. We've not talked about him, so we'll just count him.
I thought it was okay. There were a lot of times when she was kind of just standing there expressionless, or when something magical happened to her, and I thought that maybe she could have just seemed a little bit surprised that this magical thing was happening. She was never really surprised about that. But I think she was okay. It worked well enough.
You mean I'm supposed to be this? I'm supposed to undo this curse?
I think. And I think a lot of those choices were probably the director trying to keep it down, because it seemed to me like the direction was really trying to keep some of the people in a very certain kind of performance.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is that it's directed by a Hungarian filmmaker called Gabor Chapo, and he originally comes from animation, and he co-created a lot of very famous Nickelodeon cartoons. A lot of them feature Tim Curry, like the Wild Thornberrys, Rugrats, things like that. And if you look at this film, you can tell that it's made by someone who is more used to directing cartoon characters.
Yeah, I didn't think the direction was that good.
No.
I didn't think this was very impressive directing-wise. And if somebody knows what Tim Curry can do, like if this director knew what Tim Curry could do, I'm just more confused about the way that they chose to use him in this movie, because that's just...
Absolutely.
Tim Curry is like one of the closest you can get to a live-action animated character.
Yeah.
So what's the problem? What happened? What happened?
I don't know. I think another thing that annoyed me about this film is that it seems very uncertain about its themes. Its themes are very scattered, and they just throw them out there to the audience on a whim. Like themes like the power of love, stubborn pride, and then they don't really go back to those themes. It makes me feel like the film can't pick what it wants to be about, so it throws out generic one-liners to make it seem more poignant than it really is.
Like the pride thing, it's like pride is bad, but at the same time this whole mess was started by the Moon Princess ignoring pride and being stupid and just handing the pearls over to these obviously evil guys.
Yeah.
So I think maybe if it talked more about the difference between having some kind of human reason and then pride, maybe on a spectrum, maybe having a nice balanced approach, that would have been a good thing, but there was no balanced approach. And I wasn't sure if it was telling you that you had to be really, really stupid or what, but I mean, they stupided their way into this situation, they stupid their way out of it, so I guess the message is it'll work out in the end no matter how stupid you are. So at the beginning, when she first opens the book, and it talks about all of the positive elements of the Moon Princess, it was being kind to everybody, it was being beloved by nature, so being kind to animals and stuff, and then it was having beautiful, glowing, snow-white skin. So maybe the message is everything will work out for you if you're kind to animals and you have beautiful, glowing, snow-white skin. I was a little bit irritated at the end when they wrap up the love story between the salty uncle and the forest lady. The uncle guy is the one who has to apologize, and the forest lady doesn't have to apologize.
That did
And
annoy
I mean,
me.
yes, he was out of line, but also she was out of line. Like, how do you get to a point where you're marrying somebody but they still don't know what your full name is? I just think when you're marrying somebody, telling them your name might be one of the important steps, you know? to making that
Yeah,
decision.
she's still accountable for lying before getting married.
Yeah.
That's still a mistake.
Yeah, I think she should have had to apologize too. I think they should have, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
apologized at the same time or something. I don't know. Just,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
make it fair. The Moon Princess Maria, suddenly she starts off hating nature, and then suddenly she loves nature because she pets one horse.
That's all we have to do to solve animal cruelty, Viva. That's all we have
You pet one horse. Not only that, she immediately learns how to ride a horse. She immediately learns how to play piano. You don't just sit down at the piano and know how to play it. That is ridiculous. Don't
How can she be a Mary Sue if she can't do those things immediately?
Damn it! It's a bad message to send kids that they can just magically play piano. I don't want to be surrounded with children
You can
who
if you
think
dream. If you wish.
they can play piano after practicing for 1 second. She's not a real princess, and they call her princess throughout the entire movie, and she's not a real princess. And I know this is kind of speaking to the audience, to the intended audience of 12-year-old girls, but it's annoying that she's not a real princess, and they keep on calling her that.
Okay, so final conclusion?
Generic, nice dresses. If you are a preteen or teenage girl, you will really like it, or somebody who likes things that preteen and teenage girls like. 5 out of 10. It's just the average elements from every story put together, so I don't think it could be anything but 5, right down the middle, 5 out of 10.
I found The Secret of Moonacre to be boringly generic. It employs every cliché, convention and trope from the fantasy adventure genre, and never really finds its own charm or appeal. Maybe the book it's based on is amazing, I don't know, I've never read it, but the film is too bland to stick out from the crowd of fairy tale quest movies that were prevalent in the 2000s. Its biggest crime though? Wasting Tim Curry. His holiness is barely utilised, to the point where we forget that he's even in the film. How is that even possible? I'm going to give this film 5 out of 10. I've been Jambriki, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Church of Tim Curry.
I've been Viva Becker. Bye.